Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. Larry Genet with my partners Michael Oretsky and Tom O'Loughlin back again, episode 3 for the South Florida Industrial Real Estate Rundown podcast. We're really pumped to be here.
Yep.
We're now 2 months out, thereabout from the end of the year, and excited to bring you our new 2 topics, industrial outdoor storage land and raw land for development. So we're going to hit on both of those throughout this episode, so don't miss a minute. We're going to have a lot of interesting data for you, and we're really excited to be doing this again. So thanks for tuning in. So when it comes to industrial outdoor storage, obviously it didn't exist as a category, 7 years ago. I know, Real Term and Centerpoint and a lot of those guys pioneered this space and were doing it before it had its own designation and its own name. But now that it's become its own bona fide asset class under the industrial real estate umbrella, and we've done a ton of this work, right? We've sold a ton of these sites from the very small to the very large. We've done lots and lots of leasing, and we have lots and lots of space available on the market right now for lease in the iOS category. We thought it would be great to kind of get to it early and sort of give you our perspective on the iOS market. So I'll first kick it off with Mike, if that's okay. Mike, we've completed a couple of marquee deals recently for different size ranges and different uses. What are you seeing is the most active category of tenant for iOS spaces? What category of users is really out there in force and looking to expand in the South Florida market?
Yeah, well, first of all, the sites that we're seeing that have the most activity have to have some sort of a building on it, whether it be shop, warehouse, office. I don't really care what it is, but they need somewhere to house some employees that's out of the heat. That's step one. But 2, we're seeing a lot of the national groups who are out, the United Rentals, like those type of groups that are really out and looking for expansion space. A lot of the service-oriented groups that, need that zoning criteria, like the landscaping companies, the solar companies, the heavy fleet groups. The iOS tenant activity, especially in South Florida, the demand has increased and has continued to increase. We always joke about like the demand right now for iOS kind of was like the small bay industrial demand was from the COVID come up, I call it. Like we now have companies that their sole mission is what they do is they buy iOS, JDN, Catalyst, which we never really saw before. So there's been a lot of sales from the owner user pool that we're looking to cash in on their sites, and these institutional landlords are coming in and institutionalizing these properties, and it's really been changing our marketplace.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And absolutely very well said. The most important thing about iOS in South Florida, at least, I can't speak to any other markets, is having a shop.
Yeah.
You got to have a shop. It's got to be relatively high clear height, 18 ideally or higher. And it's got to have oversized drive-in doors.
Yeah.
If you don't have that, it's going to be rough sledding. There's still a market for not having it, but the rents aren't anywhere near where they need to be. And I don't want to jump the gun here because we're going to get into that in a minute. But Tom, from your perspective, why don't you just give us a quick rundown for anyone who's not super familiar with iOS, that's not a nerd like us. What is it and why is it important?
It's always been around. It's industrial outside storage facilities or land. They call it iOS. And like Mike said, it's become an asset class. It's always been part of the supply chain. Primarily, it used to be used in its inception, equipment rental companies. Think about a big paved area or rocked area behind a fence where they put all the construction equipment, or vehicles, and then a small shop where they put a dispatch office, or as you guys said, a shop for like the repair, transmissions or whatever they did. It was always like locally owned. It was usually part of like a local business, a towing operation, an equipment rental thing. It was never sexy. It was never institutionalized. It was just always there, but always overlooked. And I think people started taking a closer look at the overall supply chain and said, hey, look, at the end of the day, once these trucks get off the road, they need to be parked somewhere. Or once this equipment comes in from rental, it needs to sit and get refurbished and repaired.
Right.
And there's, infrastructure projects, whether it's the electric companies or the underground utilities putting broadband in everywhere, all the big rolls of cabling, like all this stuff can be stored outside, doesn't need to go inside. And at the beginning, it was cheaper to store it outside, and you can't bring a bunch of low boy trucks with bobcats and things inside a building. So people are like, put a big fence around it, put some lights up, P-rock it or pave it so it's got some stability so my equipment doesn't sink into the ground, and put it on the side of a highway, and all these companies will come and lease it. And historically, it was local owners, like local real estate guys own this stuff. And then I think the institutions woke up and said, hey, there's some pretty big credit tenants back there paying some pretty good rent. We could start rolling this stuff up, just like bulk distribution or small bay, and create portfolios and aggregate this stuff and make it a business. And the early adopters have been very successful. And then the large institutions said, we want a part of this, because they saw the returns. So they jumped into it. And now the who's who of global capital, corporate, institutional real estate is putting money and funds together to chase this stuff down. So it's been quick. It's gone from mom and pop, no one ever thought about it. Even the brokerage community we never thought about it. We never chased it or targeted it. Post 5, 6, 7 years ago to fast forward today, there's not an institutional owner out there on the global real estate that doesn't have a fund chasing this type of stuff in some capacity. So
hey, think about it too on the turnover costs. A lot less maintenance on an outside lot than you have in a building. So
unreal.
These guys simplified it.
Yeah. In terms of the iOS as an investment category, it's been fascinating to see it evolve. And I do believe it is still early, and it hasn't fully matured yet. But there's, like, as you said, billions of dollars chasing this stuff nationally. I wouldn't be surprised if it's internationally at this point. And the people behind these funds are highly intelligent, highly motivated, very good at getting deals done, really understand the space, like down to like the minute detail. And it is a unique category unto itself. Like the depth of the shop building that you have really can determine whether or not you can get a certain type of tenant. Like cranes are a certain width in each section. And if the full section of the crane can't fit inside of a building to be serviced, then that location obviously won't work for that tenant. Whereas the building that doesn't work for a crane guy can be perfect for servicing an equipment rental guy, because those things are much shorter. So like the nuance in the iOS category is, to me, what's really interesting and fun to play with the puzzle pieces. That's one of my favorite parts of the whole thing. So it's been an incredible journey. We've sold, $60 million iOS sites. We've sold, $2 million iOS sites. We've sold a lot of it, and we've leased even more than we've sold. And we have a lot on the market now. And it's been really, really exciting to see it come into its own. And I really do firmly believe it's still early. The infrastructure part of an economy is not going away. We're always going to need something, whether you're putting up the 5G poles or you're taking them down because Starlink just bankrupted everyone. It's always going to be something. And you've got to have a yard to put this stuff. You've got to have a yard to service and a building to service all of this equipment. And at least for the densely populated urban centers, the amount of infrastructure, road repair, highway repair, building repair, concrete restoration repair, general contractors, roofing, storage yards, you name it, lumber, everything. You name it, you need it in a densely populated area. So the category is not going away. It may have its ebb and flows. It may mature. It may go this way or that way. But I can guarantee you it's going to remain as an investment asset class. And people are going to make a lot of money buying this stuff and aggregating it and selling off funds or large portfolios to Wall Street or whatever. So we're super excited to be in this category. And we're leading in the category, I think, in South Florida. Definitely by market share. There's no question we're leading. So I'd really love to hear from you, Mike, sort of where are lease rates for the perfect site? It's 2 to 4 acres. It's got a 10 to 15,000 foot shop on it. That's 20 foot clear with oversized drive-in doors. It's literally perfect, zoned correctly. Yeah. Super important. And there's no hair on it. Where are lease rates for that stuff, just generically speaking?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, we're lucky that we get to work with some of the most creative minds in this space right now. A lot of these sites that these institutional landlords are purchasing, there are owner user buildings, and what they have on that site is for their business, whether it be Italian precast construction sites, or to your point, the maintenance crews that were wider or smaller, whatever it was. Watching these institutional landlords come in and really right size it to the general marketplace has been amazing. These guys are creative on every deal because every deal is different. I'd say we're probably striking on the perfect deal around $550 net. Operating expenses are anywhere from like 75 cents to $1.15 on these things, depending on when they trade. But I mean, look, we're having to get creative on these, just like we are on bulk buildings. Some divisions that take outside storage can pay more than others. A truck parking operation can only pay so much for a truck spot versus, a guy who's putting up 5G towers has more of a budget. So again, working with these landlords who understand that and are able to structure the deal around that has been incredible. And yeah, I mean, look, iOS isn't going anywhere. There's going to be a need for this forever, especially as the population grows down here in South Florida. So I think we're 550 now. And, as these trades continue to happen, I mean, they're happening, 2.5 to 3.5 million per acre for outside storage. So, I mean, I think the number's going to go up. And I think this space is only going to continue to get more institutionalized as we go forward.
Right. And just to clarify for anyone who's watching this that's not an industrial real estate broker and total nerd about all this stuff, when he says $550 a foot, he's talking per land foot. So you pay rent per square foot of land that you rent. It's not based on the building. It's actually based on the land. And you could do it in different ways, and you could break out the building and break out the excess land. Down here, for whatever reason, we talk about it per land square foot. So just to clarify that for everyone, $5 plus $1 in OpEx, or $5.50 for what Mike said. So Tom, we've talked a little bit about what iOS is, why it's important, the fact that it's not going away. We've talked a little bit about the rents. What about tell me something that you found fascinating about the space that has really excited you about it, or where do you think it's going in the next 3, 6, 12 months?
One of the things about iOS is that I'm finding it to be, and obviously I only have experience in South Florida, but it's highly localized. So a bunch of people come down to South Florida and say, hey, we can do a bunch of iOS for container yards. Well, South Florida isn't Savannah. We don't have a bunch of container yards. We don't have, there's container yards, but it's not like crazy container yards. And probably the opposite would occur if I went to Savannah, where they do need a bunch of container yards. So there's some nuances that I thought one size fits all for all the markets, kind of like bulk industrial, like a 36 clear building is 36 clear building regardless of what market it's in. But iOS seems more, there's a little bit more customization, a little bit more localization, I would call it. Down here in South Florida, it's rental car companies, it's infrastructure, it's power guys, it's obviously the equipment rental companies, and it's local truck parking operators. Seems to be if I had a group that's probably 85% of the marketplace. And then I'm sure if I went to a different market, next to New Jersey, New York Port, or LA or something, it'd probably be 80% containers and 15% or 20% of the other guys. So it's kind of customizable, and you got to kind of make sure whatever you're buying or whatever you're sourcing fits what the market is, because one size does not fit all, and you can't force the market into a property that it doesn't need. So, and I know that sounds like basic information, but it's true. We found down here that smaller sites, call it, 1.5, 2 acres to 5 acres with a 5, 10, 15,000 foot shop building, go like hotcakes.
Bread and butter.
Bread and butter. Larger sites, challenging.
It
takes longer. You have to cut them. You have to do some things. And down here, we found out that you can't just assume that because the last guy did it, you can do it in the future with regards to zoning. So the cities have all caught on to that, which is a big, pothole that everybody has to watch out for. You can't just assume that because the guy before you did it, you can do it again. And you have to pay a little bit of attention when you buy these things of what you want to turn it into, or if you don't want to turn it into anything, because buying these sites and then saying, oh yeah, I'm just going to pave it, drain it, curb it, landscape it, fence it, light it, your TI, the cost just exponentially grows, and your usable area goes from, call it full utilization to a huge impact on the area that you can actually utilize, because when you start putting in landscaping curbs and retention ponds and drainage, like all of a sudden your 5-acre usable lot is now 3.5, and the users come in and be like, well, I'm not paying you on 5 acres. I can only use 3.5.
Right.
So it's like, it's a fine balance of how much improve, and they honestly don't need it improved. Most of them don't need it improved that much. So like, you kind of have to take it case by case, property by property, to figure out what needs to be done, and almost do as little as possible, because these guys want to park every square inch of it. They want to stack it, they want to park it, and they'll destroy all the curbs, they'll kill all the landscaping, because they want to like put these trucks or this equipment in side by side, back to front, like as tight as they can, just because they're trying to maximize the storage area.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. It's interesting. Site utilization is very important. When you're losing 30% of your area to landscaping and water retention and different areas that the city requires, plus you're curbing everything so that every single vehicle or piece of equipment has a dedicated spot. Can't really just like bunch them all next to each other.
And all this equipment's different sizes.
Right.
So like not one size fits all. It's not like you're parking cars.
Right.
Like there's front loaders and rear, all types of stuff.
Yeah. So the cities are requiring you follow a very specific set of guidelines, where the market is way more fluid and way more flexible. So they're kind of pigeonholing you, which is something you got to look out for if you're buying a property that's a non-conforming use, where you're grandfathered in, but you don't have the correct zoning. They'll make you bring it up to current standards, and those standards might not meet the market where it wants to be. So that's why when you're buying this stuff, you've really got to call someone who is on the ground doing a volume of deals, who knows that market, who deals with the city every day, knows all the right consultants to speak to. And for Broward and Dade, I would say that's us. We know every single city. We know all the rules. We know all the different zoning codes. We know what the cities are really pissed off about and what they're okay with. And we can really help guide people and stop them from making, pretty big mistakes, generally speaking. So reach out to us if you're buying or interested in leasing your iOS site. We have done, I think, a really great job of controlling the market share and driving value for our clients when possible. In fact, we've hit some lease rates recently that were never achieved before in the South Florida market that are going to change the game for everyone. And I think based on the lease rates that we've been hitting on some of our deals and the volume of leasing that we've been doing, once the market really discovers what we've been up to, I think price per acre is probably going to go up, because the investors that are out there that we've spoken about before are going to realize that the rents will support a higher purchase price. So I think you'll see purchase prices per acre go up for the right iOS site, the perfect iOS site. Now, the parking lot sites are a different sort of category unto themselves. The ones without buildings, maybe they've got electric and power routed to them, maybe they don't. The demand for that is dramatically lower. There's not as many credit tenants, certainly, or in fact, most of them are startups. And a lot of these parking lot companies, they don't even want to pay rent. They want to do some kind of profit share thing, which a lot of people aren't into. And REITs generally don't really like to do. They want to rent it to someone and they want them to pay rent. That's their business model. So in terms of the parking lot sites, you could be looking at, half the rent, sometimes even less, just for straight up dead storage parking of trucks. And even then, it's challenging to find them. So, if you're buying these properties, it's key that you're in the right location, you have the right zoning, that you have the right type of building, and you're not some giant, massive site that can't be easily chopped up with multiple buildings. If you're following all that stuff and you've got the right people on your team, both locally and in your own shop, who really understand this market, people are going to crush it. And these funds that have raised hundreds of millions, even billions of dollars, are going to see incredible returns for their investors. I'm already seeing it. A lot of these funds are on Fund 2 and Fund 3 already, and their exits from 1 and 2 over their 3 to 5 year hold period have been phenomenal. The returns have been phenomenal. And obviously not every deal is going to be a home run, but I'm seeing these things trade on the back end in pools of the portfolio as they get flipped out in year 3 of these fund life cycle. And the returns have been awesome. So I'm really excited about it. We're doing a great job, I think, in getting these sites leased and getting things done. And I'm excited to see where things go. So I guess if you had to pick like an area of where, if you were Michael Oretsky, you're buying an iOS site. It's 2 acres. It's got a 5,000-foot building. Where's ground zero? Where do you want to be?
Yeah, I mean, we've all hit on it, I think, in the beginning of the show, but zoning is going to be most important here as these cities get into some of these sites and try to clean a lot of that up. So, I mean, for me, it would be an I-1X zoned 2.5 acre, 3,000 square foot building in the heart of Pompano.
Right, got it.
I mean, Pompano was, it was a down and dirty industrial market for a long time, and it was kind of like the Wild West. So all these like iOS sites that are going on the market right now are I-1 zoned. And to your point, they were grandfathered in. And no one really talks about that a lot, and we've seen a couple groups kind of overlook that. And where, once they buy that asset, they have to understand now we have to get a special exemption, and it's up to the city at this point if you're going to be able to actually lease this thing or not.
Right.
So, I mean, zoning is very important in every city you're in with this stuff because, they can come in and change it pretty quickly if they wanted to.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's main and main for me. That's where all these guys want to be. It's centrally located. It's our biggest industrial market in Broward County for a reason. And that's where I'd put my money if I could.
Got it. Heavy industrial zoned land, Pompano Beach. Got it. We're doing a lot in Pompano.
Yeah.
Got a lot of listings, signed a lot of deals. Tom, what about you?
Echo what Mike says. Down in Miami, you're probably Medley, along the turnpike on the west side of town, Okeechobee, that's kind of main down there.
Yep.
Good highway accessibility. One of the things that we're seeing, one of the trends that we're seeing with regards to these tenants, it's become really important is security. Everybody thinks that it's an iOS site. Like, these guys have tens of millions of dollars worth of equipment sitting in these yards. I mean, it's very expensive. Yeah. It's high value, high target type stuff.
Yep.
So we're seeing a lot of the more sophisticated tenants focus in on security. We're seeing electrified fences. We're seeing, guard gates. We're seeing wrought iron fencing. We're seeing all types of stuff. So, you can't just put them anywhere. People want to, the bigger corporations that take this stuff down want the security aspect, want the accessibility. I think there's room to grow on this stuff. I think it's another one of these product types that there's limited inventory. As you said, the cities are cracking down, not in my backyard, zoning, all these other things. And there's no place to put this stuff. And you can't push it too far out of the service area that you work because you got to load these trucks in the morning. You got a whole crew on there. You send them out to work. You don't want them driving 3-4 hours to the service area to do 3 or 4 hours of work to get back in the truck and drive 3 or 4 hours home. So in rush hour, you get nothing done. You'll never get the project done. So these guys want to be in core population base so that they can win the highway contracts or the fiber contracts or the electric contracts, all that type of stuff. So I think, inside of the central bit, inside of the main development hubs in South Florida, you'd be safe. It's really attractive. I mean, one thing, that's unique down here that we are seeing an impact that's kind of strange is that on the truck parking front, you brought up a good point. You got to be careful with truck parking because in South Florida and I'm sure some of the other markets, we have the unique ability that for parking, you can go outside the UBD. Yeah. And it's a lot cheaper basis outside the UBD. If you're a semi driver and you got to park your car, your truck, you're looking for the cheapest type of dirt. You don't really care where your truck parks at night. Yeah. So there is some pressure on rents from, the guys who have some of this stuff developed outside the UBD. So that's just one area of caution.
Yeah.
And Tom, can you, for the non-industrial listener out there, can you explain a little bit more about what the UBD and where that is?
Yeah, it's like the urban development boundary. It's pretty much in South Florida, it's where all the development stops and the Everglades or the undeveloped land. Right. Broward County really doesn't have one. We go all the way to the levee. Dade County, you can see it. It's pretty much west of the turnpike, certain areas. It's where all the rock pits are and things like that. US 27 for those that are local. Out there's a lot of rock pit, dirt lots and stuff that people can just throw trucks for a couple $100 a month. Yeah. So when you get timed out or you come in from, you own a trucking company and you made a run to Baltimore and you come back, you can't go park this thing in your front yard. Your HOA or your local community says, dude, you can't park your semi in the front yard of your house. Yeah. So these guys rent parking spots when they come off the road. They drive their car to their truck, they park their car, they get in their truck, they go make a run to wherever they're making a run to for a couple of days, come back, park the truck, and time out like airplane pilots. They take a break. and then they go back into their truck. So like that's a big iOS thing. That's a big iOS user, but it's very cost sensitive subtenant.
Right.
So there's someone who master leased the project, and then like as a parking operator, and then he sells, like it's like the airport. They have space by space by space. How long you get a ticket when you come in, and you pay how long you sit there.
Yep. No, all very interesting. So just on a quick recap on iOS, you're looking at like, anywhere from $5 to $6 per land foot, triple net, plus about a dollar in operating expenses per land foot. And on the purchase price front, you're, anywhere from 2 to 2.5 million an acre. Sometimes when you get into like Doral and other areas, you could be popping at around 3. But generally speaking, those are the prices that you're looking at as an investor, both for leasing and for purchasing. And you really want to stick to around, 2 to 4 acres, I would say, paved, drained, lit, fenced, with a 5 to 15,000 foot grade level shop building, oversized drive-in doors, ideally on both sides of the building, so you have flow-through access. You can drive in, get a service, and drive out, and good flow for the vehicles on the site itself. If you've got, propane tanks and fuel pumping stations and things like that, it's even better. Oil water separators are really great for washing down vehicles. So those are the things that kind of come into play also, but more importantly, it's just the functionality, location of the site. That's really, really key. And I just want to say on behalf of all of us, we're super grateful to all of our clients in the space, and you all know who you are. We've done a tremendous amount of business with all of you. We just really appreciate your trust and working with us, even when you don't have to. And we very, very, very much appreciate it. And we look forward to helping you grow your portfolios down here. Not only because, you're great buyers and we want to work with you, but because, you bring us opportunities and we get to work with you on the leasing side. It's the least we can do. And we very much value our relationships with all the iOS buyers out there, whether they're dedicated funds to iOS or not. If it's just part of what you do as your ongoing private equity real estate business, this has been an incredible run for us. It's made a big difference in our business. And on behalf of us, I just want to say thank you. We really, really appreciate it.
Yep.
And we owe you guys a lot. So when you call us, we answer quick and we jump on it and we make sure whatever you need happens. So I hope you feel the love because it's there. Mm-hmm. If you want to switch topics real quick, we could talk about land for development. And I guess I'll throw it over to Tom. So Tom, when it comes to land, what is an industrial buyer looking for? And more importantly, like, where is the land?
They're looking for a unicorn that doesn't exist.
Oh, God.
8 acre rectangle.
I didn't want to talk about this for the
8
record.
to 12 acres rectangular. No. Obviously, there's 2 ways to get into South Florida industrial market. You either buy your way in, building by building, or portfolio by portfolio, or you build your way in.
Right.
And there's been success both ways, but to build your way in, you have to go find the piece of dirt, whether it's zoned, platted, entitled, you have to work through that process. First, you have to get it under control and then work through that process.
Yep.
It's a long haul, but it's very profitable if you can find a piece of dirt, put up a building, lease it up, stabilize it, and sell it to the capital markets.
Yep.
There's a lot of fortunes have been made.
Yeah.
Challenges is finding the land and, having you need the resources to, deal with environmental issues, deal with geotech, deal with all the zoning and all that stuff. So it's a marathon, not a sprint. In Broward, and probably a little bit of Dade County too, we're seeing industrial dirt, probably coming out of COVID. In Broward, we probably got 2.7 to 3 million an acre.
Yeah, we hit 3.
Yeah, we hit 3. I feel like that's probably fallen back a little bit with the realities of the capital markets now and some of the development costs and some of the demand issues. I'd say industrial dirt in Broward is now 2.4 to 2.6 an acre is probably, not saying sellers like to sell it at that, but that seems to be where buyers can make it work.
Right.
Like realistically, with, supporting comps, there's a little bit of rent growth baked in there, but that seems to be the magic number.
Yep.
And there's a huge appetite for it. And, obviously, everybody wants infill locations.
Right.
Anything 5 acres and above probably justifies a bulk building.
Right.
At this point, people have figured out how to put 75 to 100 on 5 or 6 acres. So
Well, they don't have a choice. The big sites are all spoken for. There's only a few of them left. It's all controlled by the same families or the same
Yeah.
organizations that have had it forever, and they don't seem super motivated to take anything less than top dollar.
Yeah, and we've already, South Florida's already gone through hey, let's take every old big parking lot, let's take every old golf course, let's take every, the repositioning play has been played. I mean, not to say it still doesn't occur. I mean, we're at the point now where they're ripping down office buildings if they can,
Yep.
and replacing with industrial buildings. So that shows you the value of the dirt.
Yeah.
But it's a very hyper competitive market. But people are getting it done. There's tons of success stories. Look at all the development that's going on. So anybody who says it's impossible, it's not. But it's challenging. But it's the lifeblood of our future inventory and supply. So
Right.
it's very attractive.
Right, right. So, Mike, anything to add on the land?
Yeah, no, I mean, I would just say, like, since I've been in this business 7 years now, it's every year we're out of land, we're out of land, we're out of land. And
Yeah.
like Tom said, I mean, people are figuring it out. A lot of these companies have dedicated groups that are actively going after these properties, whether they be old office campuses, old retail shops, parking, like Tom said, parking lots. I mean, people are figuring it out. And, I think that's going to have to continue because we laughed about it in the beginning of that question, but there are no layups left.
Yeah.
We are out of layup land.
Yeah. It's all challenging sites that are left. You're
Yeah,
right.
but we're chasing everything. We're trying to throw stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks, and everyone's creative and seeing what we can do.
Yeah, when I first came into this team and the business here, I noticed a lot of my colleagues who were older and had relationships with older people. I was the younger guy at the time. They were selling all these parcels of land, 5 acres, 7 acres, 10 acres, 15 acres, 20 acres. And I was like, what the hell is going on? Like they were popping everywhere. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't figure it out. And for like a year, I did nothing but think about how am I going to sell land? And then eventually we got into it and we started selling some land, and we sold 20 acres here and, 15 acres there and 5 acres there. And it helped the leasing business, frankly, because, eventually they build in 2 to 3 years and we take on the leasing. And that's been amazing for us, to be able to sell the land and then lease the buildings. And then we go along with institutional capital markets and sell the buildings, and then keep it from the next guy for the renewals and everything. It's very important for our business. So it's been a core part of it. But lately, over the last couple of years, there haven't been a lot of land trades for ground up development. And I hope that market does come back. I think we're going to have to see interest rates come down before that becomes easier to accomplish, let's say, given where construction prices are and land valuations. I think the debt part of this and the carry part of it is substantial. And if interest rates were to come down, into like the mid 4s or even the low 5s, I think that would really, really help the market a lot. And we'd see at least more of the smaller sites move forward because you don't have that bulk buying potential where you're building like hundreds of thousands of feet and you get this economies of scale on these smaller sites that are left, 5 acres, 7 acres, whatever. Your construction costs are through the roof just because you don't have the economies of scale. So we really need interest rates to come back down in order for a lot of the land deals that are left to make any sense. In the meantime, we'll just keep leasing the dirt as iOS and keep sticking, truck parking operators and whoever we can find on these sites, and we'll see these owners sort of mow down trees over the years and get these sites entitled. And then once they're entitled and they're sitting there, the owners are gonna have to figure out whether they want to move forward themselves or do it as a joint venture, which is becoming very, very popular, or with a more well-capitalized institutional investor, or whether they want to sell it to the market with the zoning and entitlements in place. So it'll be fascinating to see.
I think you'll see, even with interest rates higher right now, like I still think anywhere in Broward's on the table, anywhere pretty much in Dade, call it Kendall North.
Yep.
Sounds like Palm Beach, different price point, but anywhere along 95 and the Turnpike, south of the airport.
Yep.
I think where you'll see some pullback and some pump the brakes is tertiary markets.
Yep.
Maybe farther out west in Palm Beach County, further south into Homestead, obviously Fort Pierce, Port St. Lucie. I think you'll see the capital willing to, over the next, call it 12, 18, 24, 36 months, willing to pay a premium and maybe take a smaller return for the safety net of a infill location in the core market.
Perfect. Yep.
Where they're not taking as much of a leasing risk, and it's kind of, it might be more expensive, but I know I can get it done, and I know the capital markets will give me that premium on the way out the door when it's stabilized. So I think, I think land's always going to be on, especially in the core parts of the market. Where I think we'll see a tap the brakes is probably we'll have to wait another cycle for these tertiary further out markets to like recoup, because there's some existing vacancy, and I think people went out there pretty quickly and pretty aggressively, and now we're having to clean that up a little bit.
Right. Yeah, it's fascinating when you talk about being located in an infill environment where the demand is, there is essentially unlimited capital demand for land in South Florida. Like there is no cap. There is billions of dollars that would love to build industrial real estate in South Florida. We don't have the supply of the land.
And we have the competition. Like there's other product types.
Right.
Like you find 5, 6, 7 acres in an infill location. Like they will put an apartment building up anywhere now. Like there's no, like it's become like Houston.
Live local.
They can pay a couple more dollars per acre than we can.
And the funny thing about industrial land is we needed a certain shape to make it work. The apartment guys can take like an S curve and like, we'll just put the swimming pool in the parking lot over there. We need like a rectangular square box type thing, with a certain dimensions. The apartment guys have a different product type that they can kind of meander into just about any shaped size parcel. So it limits us even further. Yeah,
and Live Local has created a surge in demand for workforce housing. They've definitely taken a lot of the wind out of our sails, and they have been for a long time. Even before Live Local, we were competing with, mommy and daughter walking down a cobblestone street in the renderings to the city compared to our beep. Our warehouses. It doesn't really go so well in like zoning meetings. They always go with mommy and daughter on the cobblestone streets. That's been a great really just recap of land. There is no more land left. Pricing, you're, 2 to 3 million an acre.
Larry, you do a little bit more of it. Like I said, 2.4 to 2.6 in Broward. Similar in Dade County, or are you seeing it a little bit higher, or you think it's pretty similar?
It really goes back to kind of in our last podcast when you asked me the same question about pricing, the geometry and the location of the site. There is a clearing price for land for the smaller sites, or if they have challenging attributes like geometry or environmental issues or zoning issues or whatever. There's a clearing price around like 1.7 to 2 million an acre. For those challenged sites. That's definitely, I found that to be very achievable to the right group. But when you get into 7 to 10 acres and more for, it has the right geometry, it's a rectangle ideally, and it's got a great location, you could easily be in the mid twos. Some people might even push higher than that depending on the location. If it's got frontage, something unique about it, you could be pushing closer to 2.8 an acre, 2.9. And obviously if you've got offsite drainage rights, that's huge because it's only worth what you can build on it. And the coverage ratios are massive. And there's a lot of really smart developers that we work with that are trying every day to figure out how to get more coverage on sites. And they've gotten very, very creative. Everything from using pavers as additional pervious land in the streets to draining off-site into lakes nearby and buying rights from other properties nearby, and underground water containment systems that were very, very popular in retail that have now been adopted by industrial. Even though it's super expensive, it actually pays to do that. Those big bump outs, I don't even know what the hell you call those things, those big bump outs in the buildings where it kind of jets out and there's no loading doors, but you get like a little bit of extra square footage. So people have gotten really creative, and I think they have to because of where the pricing is. The pricing is so strong for this stuff and there's so little of it left. You've got to squeeze every square foot out of these damn things. Otherwise it just doesn't work. And the numbers are so tight. I mean, the cap rates for this stuff, I mean, they're basically trading like bonds, like these new construction leased development sites. There's almost no risk premium for buying industrial real estate that's core and is well leased to credit tenants. Like you can get bonds and treasuries that are like in the same range over a longer period of term. So it's unbelievable how this stuff is pricing in the market. And that goes back to what I said before. There is unlimited demand, unlimited capital for all this stuff. We've just got to find it and make it work and get the numbers to work. The math just is very, very challenging right now. So that's the quick update on episode 3. Really appreciate you guys joining us. Comment below, like, and subscribe. Thank you to Mike and to Tom for joining me. If you have any ideas on other podcasts that we should do, other categories of South Florida's industrial real estate that we should chat about, let us know. If you have any guests that we should have
We have a
on.
surprise special guest coming in the next one.
Okay, good. If you have any guests that you'd recommend, we'd be really excited to hear about it, and any categories, whether it's about construction or anything else, comment below. You could find us on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on YouTube, and all the social media platforms. So would love it if you share this with people and help us spread the message of this new endeavor we've taken on. So thanks for joining us, guys.
Thank you.
All right. Peace.